Hello, hello. I have not done this in a long time, so I'm not sure if this is working. And I haven't used this software. Even last time I did live streaming, I used some different software. Um, so I think I should have the chat from both LinkedIn and YouTube, but I'm not sure. Okay, LinkedIn is notifying me that I'm live, so I think that's probably correct then. Hello, hello. So good to talk to you guys again. I've been very busy and also a slight leg injury, so I haven't been able to move around that much. Um, but I'm very excited to do this again. There we go. Hi, Abdullah. Hi, how's it going? Um, very well. Krutika, I think. Krutika? Probably Krutika. Um, hi, Ashikur. How are you? So I'm just going to answer some questions and just talk about things, whatever you'd really like. I guess I should really write Q&A if that's what it's going to be, because just chatting is like, I mean, maybe it would seem like I had some topics in mind, but not really. There we go. Perfect. Hi, Vimal. Came to say hi and thank you for the encouragement. Well, that's very nice. Thank you. I appreciate that a lot, and I am glad to hear that I am encouraging you. If that's something I'm doing, I'm sure I'm trying to. I'm glad to hear that it's working. Do you have any idea about GPT-4 capabilities in the domain of generative technologies? So it's going to be crazy for one. What's really interesting is I saw an image on LinkedIn a couple times actually, and it showed GPT-3 versus GPT-4. And GPT-4 is not out yet; it's not released yet, but it will be, I think, sometime this year. They said, um, and it's the size comparison in terms of parameters, which by the way is not necessarily the almighty, like if you have more parameters it's necessarily better, but it probably is a lot better. And in terms of parameter size, I saw that the image is like GPT-3 is like this 1 pixel compared to GPT-4, which is like this massive circle, just representing that there's like way more parameters. I don't remember the factor. But yeah, it'll be pretty crazy, and it's going to be interesting when we start to truly overfit slash like overfit in terms of a statistical term, and as well as like we cap out, like literally these models are getting so crazy, like not just skilled, of course skilled, but they're so big. They take up so much space. The APIs like requests that they ChatGPT is handling right now, even Microsoft is having trouble handling it, which they've been familiar with handling large requests for quite a while now. So it's pretty crazy. But I've been enjoying ChatGPT a lot. I do think that it deserves the hype that it's given. There's a lot of people that are always like annoyed about AI, saying like how it's so hype and it's so much, it's not nearly as good as we're making it out to be. No, it's really good. Like it's useful. Like it's gotten to the point where it's actually useful for especially coders, like for people that just, if you want to develop anything. I was using it a lot for coding in the Django framework. I was just learning Django properly. I've done some small things before, but learning how to make a proper web app, which you guys will see hopefully sometime this year. I'm launching a website, which will be very nice to host my courses. And so a little sneak peek there, I suppose. um, yeah, but like these models are so useful now. Like I go on them. Like I wish, I mean, I could show you, but basically on my Chrome tabs, like on those list of links that you have available, I forget what it's called. It's not bookmarks. Maybe it's bookmarks. But those things at the top that I go to like every day, I have Facebook, which is possibly dying, not sure. It's there for now. Gmail, GitHub, LinkedIn, Outlook, YouTube, Google Colab. I don't actually use that quite as frequently as I did before. I was making a lot more tutorials of that kind of in that kind of method, or like Jupyter Notebook style, more a little while ago. I have some stuff for some video editors, and then I have ChatGPT, which is the if it manages to like, I'm just saying for me, like if something manages to reach my top Chrome bar, like something I click on like every day, like it's really really useful. And it's going to be, I think Microsoft was putting it into Bing, which is really interesting if you kind of know the history or roughly have heard the history of like search engines slash, not quite the same thing, but very closely related, like Chrome. Why am I forgetting the term of what that's called? Browser. So basically, the browser and search engine battle. There was Yahoo near the very, very beginning. I think there was something slightly precursing Yahoo. Um, but Yahoo was the one like 20 years ago that was really big. And then, there was like Internet Explorer with Bing. And then Google Chrome like really, really took over, crushed Internet Explorer, the browser, crushed Bing, the search engine. And I forget if there was a term that Bing used to be called like 20 years ago. I don't remember. Um, but yeah, for the last like 15 something years, Chrome and I'm having so much trouble thinking of the terms again that I'm literally just saying. Chrome and Google, the Google search, Google completely took over that space. And it's really interesting to see Microsoft going to fight that again, because they haven't given up. If you go to Outlook, you will see that they recommend you to use Microsoft Edge, which will, of course, get you to use Bing by default. People, even still, those that use Bing, or sorry, those that use like the Internet Explorer slash Edge, people still generally search google.com because their search engine is just better. Google Images in particular, and the kind of surrounding ecosystem like Google Maps and all of those related services, they're just all better on Google. I think pretty much everybody agrees. But, as everyone's discussing right now, it's a really interesting time because Google they're afraid to release their language models, because basically once they do, and if it's not as good, or if there's a lot of bad things that come from it, they could be in for some trouble. Now, I really hope that's not the case, because what's hilarious is that I'm simultaneously wearing a YouTube hat and a shirt that says subscribe to my YouTube channel. So I am not sponsored by Google, but in a way, they are largely in charge of my income and my future plans. So I, of course, want Google to kind of win that battle. It would be quite the hit. I think it was something like Google right now has like 63 or something like that percent. I might have the number wrong, but like 63% of the revenue coming from search, like just search advertising. Like if you go to google.com, you search something, the first like 4 or 5 results, it used to be like 2, but like 4 or 5 results are all sponsored links. Now, on that discussion, I actually think that that's totally okay. And I had a conversation with my friend about this, about the different ways of like sponsoring content. And I do this on YouTube. Like brands will pay for me to make videos, or possibly just like an advertisement in a video. And I think that's a really natural way to like kind of get money from the creator gets money for doing that, and also you actually provide a service that people care about because you're still making content that people want to watch. The sponsor doesn't really make a difference. And same thing with Google search, in my opinion. It's still like, it's not like if you search something, they're not going to give you, like if you search Amazon, they're not going to give you sponsored links from like LinkedIn or something random. They're going to give you sponsored links on like Amazon from themselves, or like Amazon products, or whatever. And I think that's really good. There's other sites that don't do that as well. But yeah, just a related topic, I suppose. Because obviously, if Google were to lose its search engine dominance and lose its, especially Chrome, like as soon as they lose the tool, or if they do lose the tool that kind of controls where you go, you're in trouble again. Because remember, like Windows, which of course there's people that use Macs. I don't like you very much. At least I don't get you. No, I'm just kidding. But I use Windows, and many people do as well. I forget that percentage. Um, but Microsoft owns your computer software, like the whole thing. Like Windows is this insanely complicated operating system, and there's just nobody else that plans or is even trying really to catch up. Like there's other sort of open source software, like obviously there's Linux, there's Mac, but basically Mac users gonna Mac, and everybody else is gonna Windows. And maybe there's some switchover, but there's largely an equal amount of switchover in both directions just to try something new. So if Microsoft owns the software on your computer, then like you're in trouble if you lose the tool, like, or lose the search engine that you're trying to. Sorry, I started stumbling. But basically, like Google search, people go on their Windows computer to open Google Chrome because it's a good browser, and that's going to by default go to Google search. But if for some reason Google search is not the most dominant thing out there, then Microsoft, especially if Microsoft is literally better, like Microsoft will own the operating system, which will guide you to the software that you go to the internet with, and of course they're going to send you to Bing with the great AI language tool, like GPT-4 / ChatGPT / whatever that turns into. If that tool is the best, then Microsoft basically has everything, which is really cool. And of course, with the hat and the shirt, it's I want YouTube to survive, and there's no real reason why YouTube itself will take a massive hit. But what people probably don't know is that Google, like YouTube, can largely only survive because of Google, like just the fact that it's owned by Google. Like that's why YouTube was sold to Google, because of course like the people wanted money, but like the upkeep of trying to survive, uploading all of these videos, serving all of these videos, storing everything, and it's still so far growing like kind of exponentially. It's slowing down a bit, but like it's insane to keep up with this. And so you kind of need Google's massive amount of income to just keep funding this thing. And YouTube does well. YouTube makes them a lot of money, but it's not close to like it's not close to a majority of their income, and it takes a lot of expense to run YouTube, compared to just search, which it's not that complicated an algorithm. It's a lot better than it's a lot more complicated and better for the user than it used to be. But like if you compare just running a simple search on Google to watching like a 4K video in 60 FPS, like it's just not even close. So you kind of need someone, a big parent, to be running that. Okay, I totally ranted on that. I should have been recording that, because that would actually make a nice video. Maybe someone has a recording. Maybe LinkedIn does, and I'll post that. But anyways, I'm gonna go through the questions now. I'm sorry, with this software, this streaming software that I'm using, you can't really see what other people are writing, which is just kind of silly. In fact, I'm kind of considering just showing you the screen that I'm looking at, because I'm both looking at myself and this, but it would be kind of weirdly delayed, I think. Okay, so I am at, yeah, that was from talking about GPT-4. So thank you, if you're still here, Shantanu, for writing that, because yeah, that started that whole rant. Hey, Hasnain. Hi, Hasnain. Hi, Greg. I have a few questions as below and would appreciate your responses. I will go find those, because that's not actually in the order right now that it should be. I'll go back to that. 1. ChatGPT 3 looks to be a revolutionary technology. Yes, it really genuinely is. I am not concerned about version 1, but version 40, when it can code and can perform tasks of data scientists, coders, and MLEs. So people have been talking about this for a little while now, about like what I mean, of course, this channel is data science, but I'm actually going to purposely kind of brand it out of just data science and more about coding and technology in general, because to be honest, I'm I don't know. There's other stuff I want to talk about. Like I care about a lot of different things. Anyways, side note there. Um, yeah. So people have been asking like, what jobs are ChatGPT and stuff going to automate? Now, it doesn't necessarily automate, like just literally replace that many people. There's certain things that if all you were doing before was just searching something, and then you know pasting the result or whatever, something like that. Of course, the AI technology is going to be better. Um, so far, it's not so good and so diverse in its responses that it's not going to automate things like script writers. Because one of the first things that I use for it is, of course, like writing video scripts and mostly ideas, and I'll talk about how I use it shortly. Um, so yeah, definitely people are wondering like if it's going to automate all of that sort of creative work, where it's especially the image stuff, and soon to be video generation that will come very shortly after. There's a little bit of it, but it'll get good in a bit. Um, so it's not quite there yet in terms of its diverse responses to completely automate um, script writing and other sort of creative generative work like that. I think you still need humans. I think the level, like if you go watch a Mr. Beast video, and you'll see that you can't automate like a script and just automate the video. You have to like really think about these phenomenal ideas if you want to go viral. And you have to execute to like, every frame of the video is engineered in a particular way to keep you watching. So all of that stuff, I think it will take a long, long time until it really, if ever, just eliminates what humans are able to do better in terms of keeping people's attention. Of course, that's something more that I think about than you probably, because the most of the people in this chat are not making videos. They're largely coding and doing data analysis stuff. So regarding that conversation, it's getting pretty good. It's agreed. You shouldn't be concerned about version 1 in terms of replacing coding, because again, I've seen it. Multiple people, pretty much everybody agrees that it does cause some errors. It still only just generates what you tell it to, and you can't really predict what it's going to tell you. Like you can't just say like make this file that does this and then use that to do this and then use that to do this. It's not really going to work in that sort of a chain because of how it's just kind of not completely randomly, but pseudo randomly giving you responses. You're still going to have to manually look and see what it's doing, or at the very least, you're going to have to automate the testing that you do based off of code that it produces. So if you tell it to make a file that like a Python file that does something, you could already have a file that tests what it does and to see if it does the thing that you want automatically. That'd be pretty cool. But it's still very slow and very prone to error. And developers are pretty good these days. Of course, there's better or worse ones, but like we're still big companies in particular are definitely going to keep hiring normal software engineers for a long time, I think. This is all an I think, by the way. Like, who knows? Maybe tomorrow, Chat GPT with GPT-4 comes out, and it's just completely mind blowing. It could be. I'm not sure, but this is mostly just I think. Yeah, version 1 is not super scary. It's just tremendously useful. Version 40, when it comes out, obviously many years from now, but it'll take time. Like ChatGPT, regardless of what the world may have seen over the last couple of weeks, it did not just come out of nowhere. Like we had GPT-1, which no one really looked at. Like it was like some people had heard of it, some people hadn't. GPT-2, which got a fair amount better, and so again, a couple more people started to look. GPT-3 got much better. I think people started to look at that. And then ChatGPT, which is still based off of GPT-3 or like 3.5 or whatever. I think people just started to look at that because it's not even that different than GPT-3. It's mostly just that it's a little bit more friendly to use for the average person. And of course, if you can ever create software that hits people globally, like what I was talking way too much about at the beginning, where the sites I go to daily are apparently Facebook, Gmail, GitHub. Well, that's only for developers, but LinkedIn, Outlook, YouTube. Like if you make software where it's going to hit like every possible person that has the internet, of course it's going to look a lot better. And I think there was also just some funny hype about a lot of people saying that it would replace jobs, where people didn't really ask that for GPT-3 for whatever reason, but everyone says that ChatGPT is going to replace jobs, even though it's just a little bit more conversational and a little bit more of a better like UI to use. So yeah, it's going to be interesting for sure. In terms of the data science, like specific stuff, like is it going to automate? Like, is it going to automate data science stuff? It'll do a lot of it. It's still about being scrappy as a human, not like scrapey, scrapey the Python tool. About being scrappy, as in like thinking about what computers can't do, and thinking about what humans really like to see. Thinking about how humans like read and interact with with pieces of writing, like emails that you write, with visuals that you create. You just have to think about those kind of things. Whereas again, an automated tool is still going to be like it's still lacking that kind of human like emotion behind it. And so you might be able to create an informative visual, but you might not be able to create something that like you're confident that like your boss really wants to see, or that the company really needs. So, and especially this is true about like sort of analytics type work, where it's just it's so between the lines, read between the lines by humans. Like if you go to look at like a big company database, which is actually multiple databases generally, doesn't really matter if you call it multiple databases or not. You have say like 1,000. This is common, like 1,000 relational tables. There's no schema. Like there is technically a schema, but there's not like a nice picture or software written schema for the table. And it's just about people knowing things. And it's just you can't kind of infuse that information into an automated tool. Like it's just in like ChatGPT and stuff, it understands text and solely text. Of course, that's a lot because us humans have written down a lot of text, and code is text on the internet. So it can understand a lot just from understanding text, but it's still not going to be able to, in any sort of AI software, none of it's going to be able to infer between the lines of like where we're just not providing the computer with correct information, or giving it all the information that it needs to know. So it's those are my thoughts on that. Will GPT actually, sorry, I think I have to go back up. We need more ML projects. Yeah, on my list. On my list. Hello. Which iteration of GPT or similar LLM completely replaced humans in tech jobs? 6 or 7? I have no idea. The numbers are rather meaningless. It's not even like there's not really there's obviously a step up in quality between the numbers, but there's not like a particular reason to the numbers, at least not that I'm aware of, other than 1, 2, 3, 4. What about ChatGPT? Will it change AI technologies? I feel like I talked about that. How do I learn finance to be a financial data analyst? Or is it not worthwhile since financial students have an advantage? Oh, no, I don't think financial students have an advantage for being financial data analysts. There's a fair amount of the tech like terminology that finance people will start to throw around. Um, for me, I just kind of learned the basics of finance for like my own personal things, like what index funds and ETFs and like interest rates, those kind of terms. Obviously, that's not related to what you're saying, but a financial data analyst, it's I think it's still a lot about just learning the software that, to be honest, most of the finance people are still going to be using Excel. And that's true both in study and largely in, like, it's true both in academia and in, like, in practice in the field as well. Excel is still tremendously useful. I'm not a big fan because I feel like there's just other things like Python tools and pandas and Spark that are better for, at least for me, because like I use them a lot for other things. Um, and so I think it just depends a lot per company, like what they plan on doing, how techy they plan on their financial data analyst to be. Like, do they want you to just be like an Excel user, maybe some Tableau for visualization, with the finance terminology under your belt, or is it more of like an actual fintech company that seems pretty hip, and they do like Spark and stuff with, of course, you'll probably learn the financial tools or like terminology yourself on the job and through meetings and stuff, but they might rather you're a lot techier. Another question: why I stopped the ML courses? I stopped at logistic regression. Sorry, to be honest, I've stopped a bunch of these things, and it's just that's just kind of how it goes. Like the amount of work that it goes in, that I have to put in to make like a certain set of videos, and it turns out after all that, like I just didn't like it as much as I thought I would. It's not like I just completely. I mean, I do sort of abandon it, but it's not like it's useless as is. Like, it's a set of videos that stop at a certain point. I am sorry about that. If I stopped a certain series, um, I can't do everything. Like, I'm one person that I have a lot going on, and I do YouTube and like LinkedIn and all of this business stuff on my own because like I like doing it. Like, I don't do it because I'm the richest person in the world right now by any means. I do it because I like it, and if I end up making some videos, like a series of videos, and I really don't like doing it, and I know it's going to take, like, if it took a few more hours to do something and finish it off well, then sure. But like, if I know it's going to take like days and weeks to like finish something off that I didn't really like I have to just move on and do something else. So I'm sorry if that happens, but that's why. ChatGPT 3, yeah, I already read that. A lot of ChatGPT. Fair enough, though. It's really has taken over the world. Have I tried either Modin or Modin? Is it going to be more popular than Panda soon? I'm gonna write that down, and maybe I'll make a video on that afterwards, because I'm always trying to think of like new. I assume this is a framework, I assume it's a Python framework. I'm always looking for kind of video content for making new tutorials, looking up for like up to date, frameworks and languages to do things. So I'll write that down. You have exactly 2.5 months to study and master data science. Well, you're not going to master it in 2.5 months. I can promise you that, because people haven't mastered it after 30 years of research. But I get the point to maybe, get a job. I have exactly 2.5 months to study and master data science and machine learning engineer. 100 hours per week. You're going to die. um, I have, wow, 100 hours per week is almost unheard of. I'm not even sure if Elon works 100 hours a week, because how much could you possibly work in a day? 16 hours in a day, I think, is really the maximum that you could possibly work. So you could do 16 times 7, I suppose, with no break. That does get 112. That's 100 hours, but that's absolutely insane. So I'm gonna just shrink that number down. Let's go with 40 hours a week, just to, even that's a lot of work, by the way. Like, standard people work a lot. 40 hours is a lot. In fact, it's getting pretty common now for companies just to say 35 hours or 37 and a half. Anyways, are my YouTube roadmap videos for these two skill sets, machine learning and data science, which I consider pretty much the same thing, by the way, do they still apply in 2023? Yes. I don't think there's anything I would change. Yeah, those roadmaps definitely still apply. Hello? As someone who hated math during school and university years, what are my thoughts on how should I approach mastering the math part of the skill set required to be top 1% data scientist in the world? Wow, that's a lot to unpack. As someone who hates math, what are my thoughts on approaching mastering the math part of the data science? Well, there's a lot of courses online that are pretty slow, and slow in a good way, like they take it really easy. It probably won't make you like math. Some people's videos might. Mine won't on math because they're just helpful, and they're not really super loving. If you go to, what's his name, 3 Blue 1 Brown, he has some videos on math that you might really like. Personally, I think it's still a little bit tough to follow, and it's more about audience retention. And his videos do well because they're very good at getting people to watch them. But watching is very different than actually understanding it. There might be still many pieces that you don't quite understand, but I would start there for sure. And there's lots of, like, I recommend like Coursera courses, like Duke University math courses that are easily good enough. There's many calculus and textbooks online that you can take a look at. Again, those probably won't make you love math, but if you want to be a top 1% data scientist in the world, personally, you don't actually need to do that much. You need to understand math, but you don't really need to be like a math PhD or whatever. You just need to know it to apply it to go do useful things. Yeah, I would start there. Christian Wolf says, hey, what's easier to implement for time series data GANs? Time series data GANs. So they're generating times. I don't know if I've ever combined those before. GANs generating a time series. What kind of time series would they be generating? I'm trying to think, like, you could predict. Isn't generating a series like that the same as just predicting the series? I don't know. I'm confused right now. Anyways, PyTorch or Keras or Keras, I always forget. Either. It's whichever you happen to be better at. Really, I think both languages. It's tough to predict sometimes about whether PyTorch or TensorFlow is easier for something. For gradient like stuff, I think that I like PyTorch better than TensorFlow, but people are pretty comfortable with the gradient tape thing. That's not relevant again. For GANs, I did the GANs course on Coursera in PyTorch, so that's probably my go-to. I've still seen GANs stuff in Keras, so probably equally as applicable. Okay, with so many data scientist degrees being offered in universities and platforms like Udemy, DataCamp, and DataQuest, is data scientist still the sexiest job of the 21st century? So it still pays well. I see no reason, as we discussed earlier, why it would be automated fully. Of course, you're going to be using tools, and that's what data scientists do. Like, you stay up to date with the tools, and then you use them or research them. But it's still a sexy job, I suppose. I think they're pretty good looking people. Like, look at myself. Like, exactly. So I think enough said, really, there. Someone that's called what lol says, sup Greg. Yes, sup. That's a good question. I haven't heard that since, I've heard people say it, but it looks funny. Where do I start learning machine learning if I'm good at math and kind of Python? Well, you have to be good at Python, so I might recommend doing that first. But would the first step be grasping the math foundations? I thought you were good at math. Now I'm confused. You said if I'm good at math, would the first step be grasping the math foundations? If you mean the math foundations particular to machine learning, Well, it's some simple linear algebra like matrix and vector multiplication. Um, simple as in like simple in terms of linear algebra is a big area and you only have to learn the first pieces of it. It still might confuse the heck out of you, and that's totally fair if it does. Um, but it's mostly just for doing multiple things at the same time, like storing things in a vector or matrix and doing operations. It's just for doing things in parallel, basically. And if you think about that, then that's really all there is to it. Um, but math is a good way to go to start if you're not good at it already. Python is something that I would recommend getting very, very good at, because I remember, to be honest, like I thought that I wasn't understanding neural networks and like machine learning stuff in general, but to be honest, a lot of it was just that I did not understand the Python code that was being written. And so Python is universal for doing a million different things, disregarding machine learning in general. So you might as well be good at that as well. So I'd probably start there. For computer science stuff, I don't know. If you want to get a job, like especially in a big tech company, you can't really ignore the whole elite code, hacker rank stuff. Um, I mean, you could try to, but it probably won't work. And it's somewhat useful, like if you don't know what like hash maps and for loops and why you'd use like parallel operations. If you don't know like that kind of data structures and computational stuff, probably a good idea to learn that. And again, if you're going to be in a big tech company or even many tech companies, you probably will have a data structures and algorithms question at some point. But in terms of learning the skills, I don't know if the computer science stuff is that relevant. And yes, this person, there is a lot of questions. Okay, question number 5. Actually, I think I need a very quick water break. So let me I'll be back in like 15 seconds from when this closes. So I'm just gonna turn that off. There we go. You should be looking at a black screen, but you can still hear me for the next like 15 seconds. I'm just gonna get some water. Ooh, got him. Okay, I think I was probably very close to 15 seconds. Almost all positions I have seen for data scientists ask for machine learning engineering skills. Yes, because data science and machine learning are basically the same thing as well. So I am confused. Why, for a data scientist position, are the companies asking for machine learning engineering skills? Again, because they're pretty much the same thing. I mean, I would say that they're the same thing. There is this disparity in companies where it's like you have to post a job that does something. Like a job is not like just a title. Like it's not like they need a data scientist, whatever that means. They need someone that does certain things in their company. And then to attract certain talent, and kind of also assign a pay grade to it, a company would try and group it into what they think that it should be generically called and is well known for people searching out different jobs. And so a couple of them sprouted from this data science stuff. Data science is the study of data, and apparently it's, as we said, the sexiest job of the 21st century for now. It'll change for sure. But it uses something that people have started calling machine learning. And so, of course, there's both data science jobs and machine learning jobs. But to be honest, they're largely the same thing. Like I consider a data scientist an analyst that does machine learning and probably deep learning as well. And so if you see, you just kind of have to look not too much about what the job is called. You have to look at what the job is telling you that you have to do, so that you have the skills, and hopefully that you want to actually do the job that they're asking you to do. So there might be jobs that are called a data scientist that have nothing to do with data science. You have to scope that out. There might be jobs that are called machine learning that are really just being in an Excel sheet, and you're making Excel macros. Who knows? That is a thing. But yeah, you just have to look closely at what kind of they're actually asking and what you want to do, how much you want and feel like you deserve to get paid for. What are my thoughts on being a data scientist versus a data engineer? Okay, these are actually two relatively different jobs, I would say. Sorry, a lot of positions checked for data scientist positions, also asked for data engineering skills. Yeah, so basically, like this term data engineer, I mean, we've had them. I don't know why, when we started calling it that in the last 10, 15 years, for some reason. We've had data engineers since SQL came out in like 82 or whatever it was, something like that. Late 70s for its like real inception of being created, I think. Don't quote me if I'm wrong on the years. I think it's the early 80s. I'm just going to check that because now I'm annoyed at me saying things factually, but possibly not being true. When did SQL come out? SQL was developed in the 1970s. Okay. Okay. Yeah, so early 70s was it created, started to be used in like the mid 70s, late 70s, early 80s. So whatever, this is not relevant. Just talking about something. So basically data engineering has come out kind of since, I'd say, this data model stuff in SQL and relational databases. Of course there's other database styles as well, but I'm going to mostly gear the discussion towards the relational ones. Again, not that it really matters. But basically, like a data engineer, your job is to organize the data. I could throw in that acronym if you wanted, which is, well, now I forget the acronym, but it's the ETL, so extract, transform, load, blah blah blah. It's basically just moving around data. You're getting data from a source, you got to do something to it, and then you got to push it off somewhere else. And there's some complexities to that I'm definitely not getting into, and personally I'm not a master of. But a data engineer's job is roughly around that, which is writing, like, say, Python or Spark scripts these days, because that's very fast. It does like different data frame transformations, because so it reads in a table, does some certain transformations, maybe joins with some other tables, does some analysis, maybe some machine learning, who knows. You'd hopefully pass that off to the machine learning people, but maybe not. And then, yeah, you would send your data off somewhere or make it do something. So that's roughly what a data engineer does. A data scientist is more about really digging into like more analytical work. So the data engineer, there might be definitely some analytics in there, as I kind of said, but that's why I think the line is finer between a data analyst and a data engineer. I think, well, sorry, not finer. I think a data analyst and data engineer are relatively similar and often the same thing. Data scientist definitely tries to imply that you're better at like creating machine learning technology. You're aware of the different models that exist. You might be researching new things that haven't been created, or at least using tools that are well known, like scikit-learn, TensorFlow, PyTorch, yada yada, for doing more what we call machine learning work. There's no reason that a data engineer can't do that, because they're often trained with a very similar skill set. But you generally have like a team that handles where the data goes, where it needs to be, and the data engineers, they would hand it off to other people as well as the machine learning team for them to do the really machine learning, again, neural network type work on making models. Looks like the lines of position. No, I think that's good. Yeah. Hi, Arshia. I know. Sorry. You wrote this at 11:02, and I'm answering at 11:32 because I went off on a rant about ChatGPT and like links that I'm clicking in Google Chrome. No one cares. Like my popular links here at the top. So I hope you're doing well. Doctor. Hello, doctor. Hi, Greg. How to work with non-uniform time series classification. Oh, rather complex for this discussion. I don't really want to get into that, unfortunately. Also, my code on time series forecasting gives the same output for all test cases. Oh, well, that's not good. Sorry. um, what's up, my man, Greg? Yes, I'm your man. Hello, bottle. Literally a water bottle. That's interesting. You don't know who I am, but you are. I am what I do. What's up, my man, Greg? I don't know who you are, what you do, but nice merch. Thank you. I appreciate it. It's not actually merch because I don't sell this. I probably should sell this. I don't think anyone would buy it. That's why I don't sell it. Um, I'd rather sell stuff about like data science or like jokes and that kind of thing, or programming kind of humor. I really should do that. So thank you for the reminder on creating any sort of merch, because I have literally zero merch. But I do have this hoodie that I think my parents got me. It's pretty cool. Has my name on it, which is the name of the YouTube channel that I thought you'd be subscribed to, because you said you're coming from YouTube and you somehow don't know who I am. If this just popped up in your feed and you don't know who I am, well, I'm glad that that happened. But anyways, nice to meet you, Bottle. Thank you, Archie. It is a nice hoodie. You want to start posting on LinkedIn, but you don't understand whether you should. Well, you should. Go, do it now. Can you please suggest how to do this? Yes, you click post, and then you write something, and then you click post again. I'm a beginner data scientist and joined my first company in mid 2022. Yeah, just go post stuff. Like, seriously, like you're an influencer as soon as you say you are, or as soon as your bio says that you are. Of course, there's better ones than others, but those are the people that keep doing it. Like, so you just post. And the cool thing about LinkedIn is you can actually get visibility. If you were to make an Instagram, like if you were just making an Instagram account, take a photo of something really cool, write an awesome description with some hashtags that are seen a lot, you'll get 2 views, like literally like 0. And so it's just overpopulated with how kind of slow how long people take to scroll through Instagram, because compared to like TikTok and Shorts and stuff, which are now on Instagram as well, like people generally take a little bit longer to look at a picture and kind of watch people's longer stories and stuff. Anyways, you can actually get visibility on LinkedIn because there's a lot of people that kind of try to use it to their advantage. Like I think it said 600 million people. Those are always inflated, but 600 million people have a LinkedIn account, which is crazy. There's definitely not even close to 600 million people actually posting on LinkedIn. Generally, what people do is they make an account, and therefore they often scroll through their feed as well, because you have your profile and you want to see what your friends and followers are doing. But generally, people are too nervous, don't see a point. Yeah, they just don't post on LinkedIn, and so you can actually get some content, or you can actually get your content seen there, which is really cool. Sorry, just reading something. Okay. So how much ETL should I know as a data analyst? You should know what it stands for, and then go off and learn things, which people do use it, but you don't need to memorize all the different associated ETL stuff. Like to be a data analyst, you just go use the data analyst tools, make some projects that are related in the field, try to stay up to date, and you'll get a job eventually. I'm guessing if you make good enough projects, spend enough time applying, preferably get an education as well, would definitely help. What if we train, I guess? Oh, okay. I know what this is a response to, which is, I'm sorry, I'm so delayed. Dead Pianist, interesting profile name. What if we train it on Mr. Beast ideas and videos? So basically, Mr. Beast is the biggest YouTuber right now and kind of ever. Mostly just right now, but yeah. Anyways, he makes phenomenal videos that go viral literally every time. And I was suggesting earlier that right now we can't really make a model that is going to take be able to make a video as viral as Mr. Beast, because it's so granular and very, very, very particular and unique. Like the brainstorming. I've watched his podcast. I don't think he has a podcast, but I've watched many podcasts that are featuring him, and he'll talk about his the way that his team comes up with videos and generates and executes them, and it's crazy complicated. You can't just train a model that's looking at Mr. Beast videos or video ideas and gonna create something viral, because it's, first of all, it's so in the particular unique idea in that it hasn't been done before. It's just tremendously unique, as well as just even in the execution of creating a video, like a sequence of frames. You could take viral content and mash it up and try to do it with clever music to make a good video, but it's just not going to work at the level that his editors and the video like execution or idea itself is doing. Like, you're not going to be able to meet those same results. So I don't think. I mean, that'd be kind of crazy, but I don't think so. I'm sorry. I'm gonna move on from now because I did answer many of your questions. Hi, Greg. Tell me something about custom training of transformer models. I don't know. What do you want to know? You can train transformer models either from scratch. Probably don't recommend, or they're already pre-trained. Are you generating these questions from ChatGPT? That's fair. No, they're actually really good questions. I can't answer them all. Just joined. I have seen a tool like Alteryx or Nim is popular too in finance industries. Okay, yeah, I've heard of Alteryx. I haven't heard of the other one. What's the best Coursera course to get good at Python? There's a bunch of them, but in base Python itself, I actually don't recommend Coursera. I recommend my video series. My like 3-hour introduction to Python is probably a good place to start. It actually gets pretty in depth. There certainly is some Python courses itself, as well as Python with data science from Michigan, I think. Yes. Yes, you're welcome for answering the questions. If I have time, I will go back to the ones that are above. Keith Keith says, thank you for the videos. Started watching a few days ago. That's great to hear. Thank you so much. I'm glad to see it. SB Brish says, as a data scientist, do you build ML models from scratch, or do you use pre-built ML algo from scikit-learn and hypertune it? Both. So the further and further you get like into research, like if you're probably have a PhD or master's working at like Meta AI or Google AI or NVIDIA or Microsoft or one of those companies, you're going to do more and more of kind of building your own sort of like Legos. But it's rare that we see like a fundamentally different approach to things. Like, I'd say the only, I mean, I'm not the right person to ask because I have a rough general understanding of the space, and I'm not like super in tune with all of the state of the art things. But in general, the base building blocks have went from just like a linear regression to making that more complicated with a feed forward neural network, and then we added convolutions. We added like recurrent things. We basically killed recurrent things with transformers, and now we're just using kind of crazy transformer. I'm not even in tune with exactly what the architecture is at this point, but there's not that many fundamental different building blocks that you can pick from. Right now, it's more about manipulating and choosing these building blocks, doing different kind of weird techniques to make them a little bit different with your data. Look into the GANs stuff, the state-of-the-art GANs stuff, to know what I mean by that. There's doing a little bit of weird tricks like with images and how they get fed into the models. So that's more state of the art, and yeah, the more state of the art you go into, the more you'll kind of be tampering with those building blocks. As like a base, machine learning engineer, like at a, like a bank company or something like that, odds are you probably won't be building anything like super like new. You'll just be hyper tuning existing models, like genuinely like a linear regression, a logistic regression, a company has some sort of a business task for you, and they might not know, and that's why they're hiring, the machine learning specifics. And so you need to step in there, be like, okay, I need this data. There's a couple like techniques with the data, like standardizing and stuff that you might have to do. A lot of that's automated these days, and you can shove it into like PyCaret, or like the sklearn automated one. It'll do a lot of that for you. But a lot of people don't know that. That's why you hire people that are familiar with the tools and to know what's kind of the best thing to do. So you might hyper tune some models, and if you get state of the art, then you might, in addition to hyper tuning existing models, you might build some new things as well. But nothing. Usually, you'll hear about it in the news, at least if you follow the space. If it's like a really new fundamental building block, like the transformer. And not even that. It's not like it's that fundamental. Like, of course, it was tremendously useful, but it's still like just some linear algebra, basically. So. I not that I would have come up with it by any means, though. Is the engineering machine learning specialization sufficient for building an AI startup? Yeah, I think that's probably a really good place to start. It depends what kind of startup you're doing. To be honest, you don't even need that much. Depending on the startup you're doing, like you might just be able to use the tools that are already existing. Like I'm sure a lot of companies are spawning from like the GPT stuff. And if you know how to use an API these days, which most coders do, and if not, you can quickly learn, that's largely what a startup is now. Like you just have a web page that does something particular with an AI model, and you can just link up an API to that, provide a good service for users to take advantage of, and that's a startup. Of course, it depends greatly on the scope of your business, but yeah, in general, the machine learning specialization from Andrew Ng would probably be very helpful in helping you understand the rough ideas around those models. How to get an intern from outside of the US or Canada? I assume you mean how to get an internship while you're outside of US or Canada to get into US or Canada. To do that, you should, apply like crazy. If there's a job, apply to it if you can. Of course, you have to be, a good candidate. What's good for that is a good education is still considered very important. If you're talking machine learning, definitely like a good education is very important for that. In some odd circumstances, it's not as important, but generally it's pretty important. Projects are always a good idea. I think projects are a little bit overrated because you can't just build something and expect everyone to care. If you build something good and actually get people's attention, then that's great. Personally, I'd probably form a startup at that point, but that's a project that's actually useful to people is a very good idea. And you have to be really good at what at what you do. So you have to take, if you haven't already, take some machine learning courses to make sure you understand all of the fundamentals. If you're applying to like jobs that like require like a lead code or hacker rank style question, that you probably got to study up that to crack that interview. And yeah, just be really good at something is always the best approach. Just pick something that you're really passionate about and really dig into how you can help people that are doing something in that area. I apologize if you can hear this weird tapping noise. It's at least driving me insane. Someone's tapping. Can I suggest some projects to add in the resume to switch to data scientist roles? I have no idea how I can suggest a project to you, because the only thing I could do is suggest something that already exists, or sit here and spawn some crazy idea, which I would rather implement myself, quite frankly. So I can't really just suggest you a project. I could suggest you a project, and you can gladly go and ask someone else for some projects, but they're just going to tell you something that already exists, and then it's not unique and it's not interesting. So what's really the point anyway? Of course, it's great for helping you out understand some things, but don't expect it. It might still, but don't expect it to really impress too many people. How to get a job as a machine learning engineer as a fresher from Pakistan to abroad. because in Pakistan, the IT industry, um, there are very less scope in machine learning. Is that true? Okay, I didn't know that. Um, I don't know that. I'm sorry, I don't know that area super well. I have advice generally for people if you're kind of applying abroad to go into North America because I have a good understanding of that. Um, but I can't really provide particular advice to that area. Um, check out. Oh yeah, I remember. I actually, yeah, there's some Dena people from LinkedIn. I actually talk to those people. How to? Okay, interesting. Hi from Turkey. Hello. Eunice, I think from Turkey. Hey, watching since a long time and liked my content. Thank you. I really appreciate that. You just passed your Azure AI Fundamental certification. Okay, that's great. Congrats. Uh, can I make videos about deployment and maintenance of machine learning models rather than just black box models? Um, well, so there's nothing, you can still maintain black box models because, sure, black box kind of means you don't interpret it and don't understand it super, super well. By any means, you can still maintain it and make sure that it's still doing the things that you want it to do. Um, I don't exactly know what you want me to make a video on. If you can get more particular, then sure. Hi, Excel question. I highly doubt I'll be able to answer your Excel question, Null, but I'll give it a go. What's the best way to auto update data in a master Excel file? No, uh, I don't know. Sorry. To what degree is a master's degree in ML or data science useful to get a high paying job? I would say very. The more you can advance your education is always a good way to go. I so far only have an undergraduate degree and feel like I've interviewed at them, so I know that I could, if I wanted to, get a job with my. I'm not trying to flex, but I'm just trying to share that, like, if you have an undergraduate degree from a reputable university or college, then your chances are pretty good. If you have only an undergraduate degree from a rather unknown college or university, chances get worse, and not worse. I mean, you just need to fight your way through and do what you need to do. But at any point, I think, regardless of who you are, the higher academia you can do is not necessarily the best thing you can do, because I think getting really good at something and sharing things that are useful to people is a better way to get people's attention. Especially if you can provide context and make it particular to a company that you're applying to and really care about. But in general, to broaden your horizons, broaden your understanding of things, and of course, just your credentials, master's and PhD is, I think it's very rarely a poor thing to do. It's probably very useful if you can. But again, it's often expensive. If you can get it for free or with, get cheaper tuition based off of your grades and who you are, then that's great. It can be very expensive for some people, and it might not necessarily immediately help you a ton, but it probably will. So I'd probably recommend. Any solution regarding the problem of data drifting? Yeah, don't let that data drift. No, and not anything in particular, really. Okay. So I've finally hit the end of the questions. I will go back and hit questions, I think 7 and 8 from, I don't know, it's I guess. What are my thoughts about blockchain and marketing fields, as in our blockchain data scientist and marketing? I have no idea. I can't really. Glad I skipped that because I couldn't really have answered it anyway. What experience level in the data scientist field can you? What experience level in the data scientist field can I work as a freelance data scientist on Upwork, or open my own data analytics consultancy in Canada? I live in Canada. It's funny because I actually have considered kind of putting myself on Upwork as a data scientist as well. I don't know what you mean by what experience level in the field. Like 1, 2, 3. I don't really know what you want me to say there. I think if you want to do something, you should just go ahead and do it. Uh, Not from Omdena, but I discovered it recently and realized its projects could definitely be considered as internship experience. Okay, sounds good. Yeah, thank you. Um, okay, well, I hit the end of the questions, and I hope that you're actually there when I answer the questions, because I feel like it's really common that people ask questions. I take 30 minutes to answer them because I like answering questions well. Um, so hopefully, if you were here, you got your chance to ask a question and you heard my reply. Um, this is also just hitting an hour, which is probably a good time to stop. Um, yeah. Um, I guess that's good to go then. Okay, so thank you guys so much for stopping by. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate your support. It means a lot. It helps a lot. I hope I was able to provide you with some help as well. I tried my best, and yeah, I'll see you next time, guys. Thank you. Bye bye.